This is Kevin Jeffrey here with Alan Ross of We the People in Satellite Beach, and just want to talk about some of the things that are going on with the PACs. You know, a lot of the corruption that is going on in our area is being generated through the PAC situation in the state of Florida. And ever since, Alan, they increased the PAC amount, this has really just gone south, right?
Correct.
And so what do you find? You've been looking into this, and there's been a lot of groups that are coming together in order to try to deal with this problem. You can deal with a lot of the corruption in other areas, but if you do not deal with this issue, we're still going to have problems. And this is probably the foundation of a lot of the problems in the state, right?
Absolutely.
So tell us what you found.
Okay, so it's been an interesting journey for sure. We started on this journey back in August of 2024 after mailers went out to high propensity Republican voters, voter guides that essentially were not authorized by the Brevard Republican Party or the Republican Party of Florida.
Now those mailers actually came out during an election year.
Right. And they came out 2 or 3 weeks before the primary elections. And what they essentially did was they presented those high propensity Republican voters a voting guide that many voters thought was recommendations from the Brevard Republican Party and the Republican Party of Florida. Mm-hmm. And they weren't. They were sent out by a PAC. So it really disrupted a lot of good grassroots candidates' campaigns. I'm not saying all, but a lot.
But what was insidious, just to interrupt here, what was insidious about this PAC was that when you try to look into it, I mean, there were PACs upon PACs upon PACs, right?
Yes. So let me kind of go through that process. So the good news was the Brevard Republican Executive Committee, in its wisdom, decided that they had to put a group together to look at it. I was one of the members of that group, and the initial take was we wanted to see if there was enough evidence to potentially sue the PAC that had sent these mailers. And by way of reference, it just didn't happen in Brevard County, it happened in 6 other counties. The same sort of shenanigans went on.
Now, hold on a second before you finish. Now, those 6 counties were pivotal, right? Because there's something special about those counties?
Well, a lot of people believe, and I happen to be one of them, that those 6, actually 7 counties, if you count Brevard, were kind of like the next counties to be lined up for development. If you look at where they sit, if you put them all on a map and you look at where they sit, they have major highways and the like, and they're just opportunities for more and more development, which is one of the things a lot of patriots here in Brevard County are actually trying to slow down.
Right.
So there was that common thread. So what we found was it was worthy of a suit, but the whole group of us basically said there was a much bigger problem that this mistake that they made surfaced. And if I can read something. So in 2013, while most Floridians were asleep, Florida House Bill 569 eliminated a $500 contribution limit to political action committees. That to me was the biggest thing. Most Floridians have no idea that happened back, but what that allowed was unlimited money to flow into these PACs.
Now, was this when Herodopoulos was still?
I believe this happened when Mike Herodopoulos was the president of the Senate.
Okay.
At that time, I think this happened under his watch.
Which is significant.
Well, he's also from Brevard County, so
Correct.
It's kind of sad. It's kind of sad, in my opinion, that a lot of people who have been involved in election integrity, when they heard about this, they basically thought that this is probably one of the biggest attacks on election integrity that Florida's ever seen, and it's going on all over the country. There's literally billions of dollars being funneled in these PACs, and the people have no idea, and we have no chance. I believe we have no chance unless we fix it, because all of our candidates are being selected for us with the money, and we've done extensive analysis on that. So what we did was we decided that we would speak out, and a lot of good grassroots conservative organizations in Brevard County issued resolutions suggesting legislative changes to do essentially 2 things. One was to go back to a PAC cap, so there would be, everybody would be put on the same playing field that an individual would.
Right.
So for example, if Kevin was running for office in Brevard County, the most I could give to him would be $1,000. Or so what happened is in the PACs, they changed that so corporations, other PACs can give money to PACs.
So you can actually get around that limit.
It's unbelievable. We got a bunch of conservative groups, and then finally, it was a tough push, but the Brevard Republican Executive Committee overwhelmingly supported their own PAC cap resolution. And essentially, if I can explain the situation,
Sure.
So the PAC that sent the mailers out was a PAC called Make America Great Again PAC. And when we did the research, what we found was 90% of the contributions to Make America Great Again PAC were from other PACs, 5 other PACs. So there was literally no people in Brevard County giving money to Make America Great Again PAC. It was 5 other PACs. As we peel back the onion, for example, one of the PACs was a PAC called Citizens Alliance for Florida's Economy. They gave 42% of the money to Make America Great Again PAC. When we peel that onion back, we found that they were being funded by 28 other PACs. 28 other PACs.
It's like a Ponzi scheme.
Ponzi scheme. So if you can appreciate this, Make America Great Again PAC was being funded by 5 PACs, and those other 5 PACs that were funding it, there was probably another 50 to 60 PACs involved. Nothing to do with we the people.
And behind those PACs were a lot of
And
corporations.
then if you kept going on and on, every layer there's more PACs funding PACs. What that does is it creates dark money. So if you're a voter in Florida and you try to do this research, it will take you days, if not weeks, just to kind of get a little sense of the problem. So there's some more really good news, Kevin, because what we've been able to do with the resolutions is our group has gone to election integrity people in this state who had no idea of the significance of this problem. And I think they've come to agree with us is we could get to no machines counting ballots, no mail-in ballots, same day, one day voting.
Which is what everyone wants.
Which is what everyone wants, including President Trump. But if we don't fix this problem, we are still going to have selected candidates. We, the people, do not have a chance. So our group has reached out to influencers around the state of Florida, including election integrity people. And this week, we had an amazing first statewide Zoom meeting from people all over the state, and they were shocked. So we probably got another 40 or 50 people signed up in our movement, and these are all people who are interested in election integrity and are really passionate about restoring our government.
Of which the FRA is a big part of that.
The FRA
is
is
in line with that, and we see that the problem is a huge problem.
Right. So that's the good news. 2 days later, Defend Florida had a statewide Zoom call, and this was at the top of the list on theirs. So the news is getting out, and it's important that the people understand what's going on, because if you want to have a say in what happens in your county and what happens in Florida, you have to get involved with this movement. Because if you don't, you might think everything is being run well in your county. Like here, we're basically a strong Republican county, but make no mistake about it, that the politicians in this county and their Republicans are all involved in this dark money situation that basically takes power away from the people. So I'd encourage you all to follow what we're doing. We're hopefully on Brevard News going to put more information up about this.
We are.
As this becomes more apparent, and we're building the case that every Floridian will be able to see easily if they spend about 10 minutes looking at what's going on. So it's so crystal clear that it has to be, it should be and has to be fixed.
So the people are seeing it from the other side, in that they're seeing that the money, the advertising budgets of some candidates are higher, so you can't really get a grassroots candidate in because all of the money is stacked against them. I mean,
Right.
in the last District 1 race, one candidate had over $200,000, and then the winner had only $12,000.
Exactly right.
Fortunately, she was able to win, but you can see the odds are stacked.
And the odds are stacked, and it's hard. It's really hard for grassroots candidates because, as we have found, you have to get out there early. You have to have a good message. You have to have an incredibly strong ground game, because this is what you're fighting against. And you can take any candidate in Brevard County, and if the powers to be decide that they're not for them, I mean, you could have a grassroots candidate coming along, and then at the end of the campaign, right before a primary, let's say, they could drop hundreds of thousands of dollars of advertisements, mailers, and totally
The mailers are really one of the big issues here, right?
totally blowing out.
That's
there.
where the money is actually
Right.
being realized, is in the mailers, and so you get flooded at election time with mailers from the candidates that are benefiting from these PACs, right?
Right.
And it's a big influencer, right?
Yes. I'll give you another example. So our group dug into one of the larger PACs in Florida. It's called the Florida Republican Senatorial Campaign Committee. Now, why did we look into that one? Well, we all live in Brevard County, so a lot of us in this special election for the new state senator from Brevard County, every day we started to see mailers come into our mailbox while this primary was going on. Day after day, at least at my house, I got a mailer from Debbie Mayfield. Debbie Mayfield mailer number 1, Debbie Mayfield mailer number 2. When we looked at the mailer and who put it out, it was the Florida Republican Senatorial Campaign Committee. Now,
Which you ask yourself, how are they getting involved?
they're involved in a Republican primary where there's 4 good candidates. And I can tell you that the Brevard Republican Executive Committee had a candidates forum at one of their meetings. And Debbie Mayfield, who has been in the Senate already 8 years, was at that meeting, and I can tell you the grassroots were not happy with her and what she said at that meeting. There were 3 other candidates that pretty much the entire Republican Executive Committee supported. So to see this happen again was beyond belief.
But this is a big point, though, Alan. So she probably knew that she didn't have a chance with the people. But it didn't really matter because she could run an end game around the people through the PACs, through the mailers.
And she didn't even raise the money. Now,
Right.
Kevin, just listen to this. So the Florida Republican Senatorial Campaign Committee, we looked at their contributions from January 1st of 2024 to March 31st of 2025, okay? Almost $26 million of contributions into that PAC. Now,
Do we know from whom?
yes, well, I'm going to give you a little hint of that.
Okay.
So, now this is one PAC. 128 other PACs gave basically half of the money to this PAC.
So explain just a second for those who don't know what a PAC is. What is a PAC?
A PAC, in Florida, they call political action committees. In Florida, uses the term, the Secretary of State's offices uses the term political committee. So anyone can establish a political committee. You have to go through the state laws and do it, but you can start raising money for whatever your cause is, and then you can do pretty much anything. Like you can send mailers out, you could do TV ads, you could do anything that you want. But what's happening is lots of that money is being funneled back and forth. And why are they doing that? To hide where the money's coming from. So if you think about the example I gave you before, if this large PAC was being fed by 128 PACs, I guarantee you those 128 PACs probably were being fed on average by at least 10 to 15 other PACs. So it's totally dark money. And who controls this? The head of the Senate. Okay? And people don't understand this. We've had meetings in our local group where we've had our state representative come in, and he's pretty much told us that, you know, if you're like a freshman representative, you're basically told to sit down and shut up. you have no chance of getting anything on the legislative agenda because it starts from the governor's office. The Senate has its legislative priorities. The House of Representatives in Florida has its legislative priorities. And then they dole out crumbs to everybody else. So if you ever wonder why we're not getting election integrity reform, or we're not
They've actually rejected it last year.
we got nothing.
Yeah,
We got nothing.
They said, I mean, and really said they're not going to deal with it at all, right?
Well, yeah. Why aren't we getting insurance reform? Well, if you dig into some of the money, it's so obvious what's going on. They're all in my opinion. This is my opinion. They're captured by
so
their
there's
donors.
a direct correlation
Right.
between the problems that we're seeing with insurance reform, some of the other issues that people are seeing directly, and the PAC money and the people behind it pushing their agenda in the legislature.
Right. And then what we're also looking at very closely is who's behind all these PACs. So you will find that there are certain people who are either chairs or treasurers or registered agents for sometimes maybe 10 PACs, sometimes maybe 30 PACs, sometimes maybe 50 PACs.
And who regulates the PACs, Alan? I mean, who oversees this to see if this is, because there are laws.
There's laws.
That they're supposed to be governed by.
They're doing what the law allows them to do. The problem is the people are asleep and they don't understand the problem. If they did, this would never happen.
So what can the people do? What would you say the people can do to engage in this and to stop it?
Okay, the first thing I would say you have to do is to learn about what's going on here. And on Brevard News and ultramagapatriots.com, which is another website that we use, we're going to continue to put stories out. So you have to understand the story. Well, I would encourage you, if you hear of people talking about this issue, to go to the meetings and listen to what the people have to say, because it's a pretty simple process. But we're going to try to put that information out there. But a simple question you can ask your representative: are they taking money from PACs? Just start right there, and then ask them, the PACs they're taking money from, do those PACs receive money from other PACs or other people? And just see what they say. And it's a tell, because if they have no idea or they don't want to talk about it, that means you should be starting to do some digging.
But that's causation too, as a lot of the people in their areas go to their city councils, they go to the county commission, and one of the things you continue to hear, not just here in Florida, but around the country, is that they look straight through them like they're paying no attention to them. Is this the reason why?
Well, here I'll go back to this one PAC. Okay, this one PAC, as I said before, raised close to $26 million in that time period. If you look at all the PACs and all the companies that gave monies to this, it represented 94% of the money that's being used to fund all these campaigns. Think about it, Kevin. Over $20 million in a year. There's 40 seats. There's 40 seats in the Senate. That's at least $500,000 of clout from this one PAC alone. And if you look at the people's contribution, it's less than 5% in this PAC. So if you are in a business, and let's say I'm making sales to retailers, right? Mm-hmm. And one of my accounts is Walmart, one of my accounts is Home Depot, one of my accounts is Lowe's, one of my accounts is Target. And then I have the little mom and pop, okay? And there's a problem. Who am I going to pay attention to?
Of course.
Am I going to pay attention? Am I going to do anything for the mom and pop?
Probably not.
Probably not. You're going to pay attention to Walmart, Home Depot. And if you look at the numbers, this is what's happening everywhere. So they've all been bought and paid for, and the only way that people can restore their votes, their rights to have a say, is to bone up on this issue.
So you probably are going to need a citizens initiative to get this changed, because you're not going to get the legislators themselves to vote for this, right?
Yes, we've had a lot of discussions about that, but we're going to go on an active campaign across the state to bring this in front of the politicians and in front of the people. And we're going to bring the receipts. Mm-hmm. So we're going to make life as uncomfortable for them as we possibly can.
Well, it's just like I always say, Alan. When we were younger, we had roaches, and they scattered whenever you shine a light on them, right? And that's really what needs to happen in this situation, right?
Yes, yes. So stay tuned as we organize our presentation. We'll hopefully give you a roadmap so you can understand the situation in good terms. This is a starter pack of about 12 pages.
How can anybody get that information if they wanted to get a
They
hold of
could email me at alanw155@aol.com. It's ALANW155 at AOL.com.
that? And then they can also go on to Ultra MAGA Patriots website.
Right.
And there's just a lot of information on there.
Yeah, and it's getting better because we've gone from 5 or 6 people working on this issue, and now we have people working on this issue statewide. So, and we've got good influencers, we've got good reporters who are now working with us. So we're going to expose this.
All right, you're going to get more from Brevard News and from ultramagapatriots.com, and we're going to continue to really push this and let you know what's going on with the PAC situation. It's one of the biggest problems in politics, not only in Florida, but across the country. But again, as it always, it comes down to you, the American public, that as you're engaged, any of these things can be taken care of. It just takes your engagement. Thank you, Alan, for joining us. Alan Ross of We the People of Brevard, and we're talking about the PAC situation in Florida, and we're going to keep you abreast of it as we move down the road. Thank you for joining us on Brevard News. We'll see you again next time.